set the number very high so that if you were merely a prediction or prophecy addict, or you were afraid for the future but didn't have enough dollars, you would seriously think about it, because we don't want your money. Well, what we did was we ended up with a cadre of people that have a lot of money and make investments and stuff, and they did fairly well off of it. But Universe has redirected my attention on this, and so we cut the price on the last run to $36, and it's available at Half Past Human. You can go and purchase that. But future work here will start making new postings around the equinox, around June 21, and those will be $10 to purchase. And this is used to be a $70 subscription, and instead we're just going to sell them at $10 a throw, and if we can sell enough, then maybe we can figure a way to lower the price again. We're somewhat constrained by our bandwidth costs because we eat up large amounts of electricity and computer bandwidth.
And of course your time too, and you also have to buy vegetables. Is that what?
Well, I grow my own veggies, but I need olive oil and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to have some stuff. Well, that's very interesting. So then, folks, they can spring for one or two every now and then if
as they choose, correct.
And then that's going to be valuable for them.
And they will decide after they've invested that $10 if it's valuable for them, and then they won't have to put 70 in and feel that they didn't get value out of 60, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And now if they want, for $36, they can buy our last run, which covers up through the fall of this year through about March of next year, somewhat intensively, at about 120 plus pages.
Wow.
So it's a lot of reading for $36, and but you have to, if you buy it, don't blame me and don't be depressed.
Well,
because our service, we have to acknowledge something, and that is there's a built-in artifact in it. An artifact is something that you can't do anything about in your processing. It's just going to show up. Our artifact here is that we have an emotional association to words, but of course the most extreme ends of the emotional associations are the ones that show up most often, and people don't write about good emotions as much as they do about bad emotions, so we have a tendency to concentrate on a dark view.
Is that right?
Yes, naturally. It's just an outcome of our processing. If more people talked about, light and happy things and this kind of thing to balance it out, then the processing wouldn't yield such a dim view of the future, I believe.
It's very curious you say that, because you can go to Alexa and kind of look at websites around the country, right? Around the world.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, like, this website is number 350,000 out of every website in the world, which is a pretty good ranking. It's
sure, there's millions,
there's millions. But you can really see a lot of the really popular ones, they are more negative, if you will.
Oh yeah. And people have to express that negative emotion. They need somewhere to get that into that feedback loop with it. To some people, it becomes a compulsive or addictive part of their personality, but for just others, they've got it coming from Universe, and so they need to express it.
You mean they need to express it by expressing it?
Or by reading it and
by hearing it or reading it, that helps them?
That does help them, right.
Really?
It validates their experience. There's a huge amount of cognitive dissonance out there. You look up into the sky and you see these airplanes spraying these giant white trails and creating fake clouds and mucking over your whole environment, and you go online and you say really angrily, what's going on here? Why am I being poisoned, or what is the point of this? And everybody around you denies its existence. Basically it's who you got to call. You need the validation to say, no, you're not crazy. You are seeing that, and the world is officially denying it.
It's very interesting you mentioned that, because when we talk about chemtrails, wow, people love it to tune in.
Yeah, exactly. You're validating their personal experience of the reality of the planet that is denied in the official media.
I see.
Totally ignored that it might as well be officially denied.
And who's that fellow who's really into it? He's going to be on in a couple of weeks. He's like the foremost authority. Is it Thomas? Will Thomas? Do you know that?
I don't know. Sorry, I'm terrible with names and personalities. I remember what people write as opposed to who the author was.
Anyway, the foremost authority who's written the primer on chemtrails is going to be here, I think, in 2 weeks. I believe his last name is Thomas. My name is Patrick Timpone. We are with Clif High. Now's the time to come in if you'd like to ask a question about halfpasthuman.com and his work. 888-663-6386. A lot of you managed to get online. I don't know how you did it, but also emails are fair. Patrick at oneradionetwork.com. So laying the groundwork of what we said is you really make your living about giving away these kind of predictions. Well, can you still talk about some of the things that you know without cutting your grocery bill too?
Sure. That's not an issue for me because Universe supports me or it does not. And the minute the Universe stops supporting the work, then I won't do it and I'll go off and do something else. I have other skills.
I like that.
And also my goal is to not create competition. So I don't, I have this weird relationship with the Universe, and I said, okay, Universe, here's my rules, and it sort of agreed, and we've set out on this deal. One of them is that, I will put out the information and answer any legitimate interview, but I have the right of refusal to not mess with the corporate shills. And so I'm speaking with you, whereas I wouldn't necessarily speak with CNN, that kind of thing.
I see.
But yeah, so I can certainly talk about it because mostly it doesn't show up as text and causes problems.
Doesn't show up as what?
As text. If someone were to sit here and do a transcription of what we're saying and put it in certain areas of the internet, then our server or our spiders would pick it up and we would be eating our own words and get into this self-referential spiral.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
No, and so we have to guard against that, but I do take precautions in our software sweep. So.
Well, that's very interesting. So, having said that, well, boy, this is like a buffet for me. A lot of folks are talking about how rough this fall is going to be. George, your good buddy and cohort, he certainly has been talking about it the last couple months. Summer of hell.
Well, we've been talking about this for the last year.
Yeah, the summer of hell for like a year.
Yeah.
So do you think that we're going to have like another fall tsunami like we had in 2007 to really kickstart all this?
Economically, it's going to be much worse.
Really?
Much worse. Perhaps a whole order of magnitude worse.
Really?
Yeah. It leads into a period of time that on our work shows from now, let me be real clear about this.
All right.
I'll give you dates, but the dates are not necessarily like astrology when a conjunction is exact or something like that. These dates are where we pick up certain levels of linguistics to where our eyes can pick it out, but it might build for several days or even a week or two before it hits that date, right? And it may also fade off for a few weeks afterwards. So I could pick a date and say, July 15th, and whatever it is going to occur might start actually on July 10th, but it might be until the 15th before it hits the general linguistic levels to where more our people are reading about it.
Gotcha.
Okay, so given that, we have a series of dates for the fall, and we suspect that something relatively nasty relative to the global financial system will occur on or around October 6th, and then will cause a period of background heating and boiling, if you will, in the problem sense, that will finally erupt out around the 5th or 6th or 7th of November. Maybe as late as the 8th, but I don't think so. And that will dominate things economically until November 2nd of 2010. And basically what we're looking... Yeah, a whole year of this is coming.
Whoa.
Now, and basically it kind of makes sense because we see what is going to occur is as part of our year of transformation, we like labeling everything in big terms, the transformation process starts off, and at the end of this year, the dollar starts the dying process as the global reserve currency. So a year from this coming November, countries other than the U.S. won't use the dollar.
They'll just quit using it.
Yeah, and that's going to cause huge impacts for us.
I hate it when that happens.
Hyperinflation, yes, it's just going to be a royal pain. Who knows how much a gallon of gas will cost because we'll have to take our not worth much green pieces of paper and go see how many we can trade to buy real money in order to go buy oil.
What will these guys, you suppose, do with these dollars prior to that point? They're going to know this is happening, right?
They know it now, and they're reacting to it now, and we're picking that up linguistically.
Like the Chinese have 800 billion in treasuries. So
they've been selling off for over a year now.
But they're still buying as well?
Well,
I mean, that's what it says on the different websites we read.
Yeah, there is some level of purchase, but it is not as rapid nor to the volume. And if you look at some of the purchase agreements, they're not really solid purchases.
Uh-huh.
So it's quite the
solid
odd
purchases?
situation. And it gets to the same issue. You ask, what are they going to do? Well, they need to convert those dollars, knowing that look at the action of the dollar over the last week or so in relation to the euro and the yen. We've been losing value.
Even the pound.
Correct.
The pound is going up against the dollar.
Right. And well, anybody that has any kind of resources, New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, et cetera, is going up against the dollar. So the Chinese are aware of this, and they're selling against this rising tide of worthlessness of our paper. At the same time, that our Fed and our government, the Federal Reserve banksters that own our government, are shoveling out more money to make that tide even deeper.
Yes, they are.
So we're going to reach a situation here that we think will actually trigger somewhere around July 15th and will be operative or most
this July 15th?
This July 15th.
Okay.
There's a precursor series of events that must occur prior to fall. Within this precursor series of events, a lot of them will occur between July 15th and August 16th. And one of the things that will occur there is the beginning of the crumbling of derivatives. Now, derivatives are complex financial instruments at weird levels of abstractions based on strange things like the price of soybeans and the interest rate at the same time, that kind of deal.
Really strange.
Really strange, quite odd. And these idiots bet on them with vast amounts of money
that they
suck from us, right? So anyway, they're going to hose us all because the derivative monster is like, I think last time I looked at it, it was 11 or 12 times the global domestic product. So if all of the world worked for 11 or 12 years, we could buy or back all the derivatives.
Yeah, I heard the numbers in the neighborhood of 500-600 trillion. Is that close?
No,
think?
We're talking quadrillions.
Oh, quadrillions.
Yeah, 4 or 5 quadrillions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
that's a lot of money.
Well, no, I actually think it is meaningless and therefore will come exactly to that.
Yeah.
It is so meaningless we'll have a confidence crisis that will mature between the 26th of October and the 5th of November, such that the U.S. will be plunged into geopolitical frothing chaos, and we may be able to extract ourselves effectively over the next year, but we won't be able to bring the dollar with us. Now, that's not to say that we may not still use a dollar within the United States, but I believe that the effect on digidollars and dollar to other currency relationships are going to be quite severe.
Now, George is a fellow that he talks with, the stock market guy. What's his name?
Landry?
Yeah, Landry.
Yeah.
George and he has been talking something like they're thinking maybe 9,500 for a Dow sometime in July or August, and then this thing could go south. Is your linguistics saying similar?
It would support that.
Would
yes.
it?
I don't pick numbers though.
Yeah.
So and the Dow is an artificial manipulated thing in any event that is held up and propped up by the powers that be, and in even the gambling casino of Wall Street is so manipulated now that
sure.
Yeah, so
sure.
but it would, our linguistics would certainly support that sometime in the middle of July we're going to start seeing the inevitable consequences of the actions that were taken in the last year.
So it's very possible the stock market could do a big nosedive.
Oh, I actually think our linguistics support something. The linguistics would say, for instance, that as of November of this year, the Fed becomes irrelevant to activities.
Irrelevant? But are they not the boys, Clif High? Aren't these the people the banksters?
Yeah, but at some point they're going to print so much money that we just walk away from them because, it would be Weimar or Zimbabwe-like where you have to take in your dollar bill so they can stamp 6 zeros behind it and make it into $1 million in order to buy a stick of gum.
I know you can get, as you know, you can get 100 million, I don't know, something like $100 million Zimbabwe thing note.
Yeah, I know, and it costs more to make that note than it does than it's worth.
Oh,
see, we're at that point. I mean, it's rather humorous to think about it, but real soon we're going to be in that level of hyperinflation. So at that point, the Fed is merely yet another appendage around our neck, and perhaps the first level of people that need to discover what lampposts are really for.
Yeah, go sit in the corner and behave themselves. Yeah, and as everybody probably well knows, it's not that far out to think about. It certainly happened in Bolivia. It happened in Argentina. It happened in Poland.
It's already happened in the U.S., and it just is a matter of manifestation, because bear in mind they have created more money in the last year, more dollars in the last year have been created for use by the federal government than have ever existed. So we have much more than doubled the existing supply of dollars in less than a year. That level of growth did not occur within the first 50 years of the dollar's lifespan.
Yeah, all the way up from 1776 to 1980, there were only $1 trillion in 1980 in the money supply. $1 trillion.
We also have to be very clear about that. The dollar didn't come into existence until 1913.
1913, right.
Right, and in the 1800s, every year that the United States had a gold-backed currency, we had less than 4% inflation.
Really?